Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, welcome back if you've already subscribed. Today I am going to be talking about my top 20 movies of 2024. Now I saw 55 movies in 2024. A lot of them I saw in theaters because I go to the theaters roughly once a week, sometimes twice or even three times if I have like a lot of time on my hands. But usually once a week, I make sure to go to the movies. And because of that, I did not see a lot of the streaming movies. Like, I still have to see Hitman, which was a very popular one, and Amelia Perez. I'm going to see those ones at some point, but I missed a lot of the streaming ones. I like the theater experience, so I go to the theater. And that's what most of those 55 are. But today we're going to talk about my top 20. And the reason I have it at 20 is that I find it hard to narrow down to 15 or even 10 because there are some movies like 17, 18, 19, 20. I really did want to include those ones and not cut them off. So I feel 20 is a good number for me to be able to include everything I want to include. And we're going to get started in a moment, but just while I have your attention here and I'm back on the channel for another long form video, I do want to inform you that I will still continue with music covers on the channel. The last cover I did was in October. I posted in the beginning of November the Coldplay cover of the song Warning Sign. And I just do want to let you know that I am going to continue doing covers, but in November and December, I kind of stopped practicing piano because I'm starting these new freelance jobs as a Spanish interpreter, which is what I went to grad school for in 2023 and 24. And because of that, I've been doing a lot of Spanish to get prepared for that. And I just kind of stopped practicing music those past couple months. So I didn't really feel it was appropriate to be posting covers when I wasn't practicing. But I'm getting back into practicing now, and I will be posting more covers throughout this year. So this is a channel for music and movies, music covers, music reviews, movie reviews, that kind of thing, movie rankings, maybe music rankings, all that stuff, music and movies will continue on the channel. I just took a little break from long form videos in basically November and December. But I'm glad to be back here today talking about my top 20 movies of 2024. So without further ado, let's get into it. Here's the list. Okay, so number 20 on the list is a movie called Cuckoo, which was directed by Tillman Singer. I'm not sure how many other movies, if he's done feature-length movies before or not. It doesn't look like he has many other projects when I look at him on Letterboxd. And this stars Hunter Schafer in the lead role and another important role played by Dan Stevens. Those are the two main actors, I would say, to know in this movie. And this one, actually, I just looked on Letterboxd. It has a 2.9 on Letterboxd, so not very well received, but I've seen a few critics that like it, and I really enjoyed it personally. I love how weird this movie is. It does not explain much to you, but it does explain how the concept of a cuckoo bird is important to the plot, and I appreciated that. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, so I'm not going to tell you, but if you know anything about a cuckoo bird, that tells you something about the plot. And this was just really bizarre and insane and a wild ride, and I enjoyed it. It doesn't give you that many answers, but it gave me enough to be intrigued the whole time. And Dan Stevens had a really amazing year with this, and he was also in Abigail, which was a really good one this year. And Hunter Schafer, she played a really good, just rebellious teenager. I think she was supposed to be 17 in the movie, and she's kind of rebelling against her family, doesn't want to be in this place where they are. I think it's in Germany or in the Alps somewhere. I'm not sure exactly, but somewhere in Europe, and a remote place in the mountains. And she doesn't want to be there. She's kind of rebellious, a little bit deadbeat, just kind of slacker. But her whole teenage rebellious attitude really worked for her character, and it worked for the movie, and it worked for the humor of the movie, and she did that really well. And I think I enjoyed it a little less the more I thought about it over time, but it's still sticking in this top 20 spot here because I did really enjoy it. Okay, in 19th place, we have another horror movie. This is Speak No Evil, which was directed by James Watkins. It stars James McAvoy, Mackenzie Davis, Scoot McNairy, not sure if I'm saying that right, and Aisling Franciosi. Again, I don't know if I said that one right either, but those are kind of the four central characters. Mackenzie Davis and Scoot McNairy are married, and then Aisling and James McAvoy are married. So they're these two different married couples. And this movie was a remake of the 2022 Danish or Dutch movie of the same name. And in the original one, yeah, they remade it just 2 years later, which is kind of crazy. But in the original Danish film, I haven't seen it, but supposedly it's a lot sadder. It goes in a more melancholy direction, especially with the ending. And I would be spoiling it if I told you why. But the Danish film is a lot sadder. And this one, this American remake by Blumhouse, does kind of a different ending, goes in a different direction from what I understand. And it's not as sad. But this one really surprised me. This was good. You never know with Blumhouse, because earlier in 2024, I saw this one like in the summer of 2024, but earlier that year they came out with Imaginary and Night Swim, two of the absolute worst movies of the year. Terrible horror, schlock, crap, just awful movies. So I was kind of burned out on Blumhouse at this point, and I was expecting this movie to be terrible, and it really surprised me. It was good. It was very good. And this movie, what's interesting about it is that Scoot McNairy and Mackenzie Davis are kind of having marital problems and problems in their relationship, and they are invited to go hang out. Their whole family, actually, they have a daughter. They're invited to go hang out with James McAvoy and his wife, who are very open and warm and loving with each other, very free-spirited. So there's a contrast in those two married couples. And a lot of the tension and suspense just comes from dialogue and from the intensity of the situation. And there's social etiquette. And like when other people are pushing the boundaries of the social etiquette, that you don't want to be rude guests and you don't want to be impolite. And when are you pushing those boundaries? So really a lot with politeness and social etiquette, and the tension comes from that and the dialogue, and they build up the suspense and tension in really interesting ways. So also James McAvoy is amazing in this role. He really sells the horror and the terror that comes later on in the movie when he's kind of a little bit unhinged. But yeah, it's this was a good one. I like this one. Number 18 is Kinds of Kindness. This was directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, who just came out with Poor Things in 2023. I believe he filmed these two movies at the same time, but Kind of Kindness, in contrast to Poor Things, went very much under the radar. This is not getting a lot of awards buzz or anything. Kind of just came out and went away. but this was a really interesting one. It stars Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, Willem Dafoe, Joe Alwyn, who else? Hung Chow, and Margaret Qualley, and some other people. And it is about three different stories. It's like a triptych, three different short stories, each one about an hour or 45 minutes long. And supposedly it has to do with the theme of pleasing others, I heard somewhere. But you could read into this a lot of different ways. I'd say it's kind of open for interpretation, but it will leave you thinking, and that's the effect it had on me. I found it's a little bit kind of intellectually stimulating, but on the emotional side, it was a little lacking. But I was definitely thinking about it. And there are some horrific images and things that happen, like the end of the second story, and just how weird some of the stories are, like the third story, which has to do with contamination and people who are obsessed with that, kind of like a cult. Really weird stuff, but this one will stick with you, that's for sure. So the 17th movie on the list is Heretic, which is an A24 horror movie which came out in sometime in the fall, and it stars Hugh Grant, Sophie Thatcher, and Chloe East as the main three characters. They really take up most of the runtime. There's a few other characters here and there, but those are the main ones. And it was directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, who in 2023 made this movie called 65, which was about Adam Driver hunting dinosaurs. I never saw that one, but this is a very interesting jump from a movie like that to this. Anyways, this movie, what was interesting about it is that Hugh Grant plays the heretic, the non-believer, and he questions the nature of religion, the role of religion in society, the nature of believing. And especially in the first half, they raise a lot of interesting questions and have interesting dialogue. The second half is a little more of a generic horror movie, but it's still wrapped up nicely for me. But yeah, this movie made me think about my own religious beliefs and attitudes, and I hadn't really checked in with myself in that way in a while. And it was just a very interesting movie, and Hugh Grant is great. He's kind of his charming self that he always is, but it's got this sinister layer underneath. So this was a really pretty good one too. I enjoyed this one. Number 16 on my list of the top 20 movies of 2024 is The Apprentice. This was directed by Ali Abbasi. It stars Sebastian Stan, who plays Donald Trump, Jeremy Strong, who plays Roy Cohn, and Maria Bakalova, who plays Ivana, I think that's her name, Trump's wife at the time. And all three performances are very strong. Sebastian Stan is amazing. Jeremy Strong is fantastic. Very solid performances overall. And the movie is about Roy Cohn and Trump's relationship and the effect that Cohn had on Trump, because Trump kind of starts off pretty normal, like an average guy. Like, yes, he's an ambitious businessman, but he's kind of relatable and normal. And throughout the movie, he morphs into the Trump persona that we know so well today and does some really horrendous things by the end. And the effect of Cohn on Trump is really enormous. And the turns that their relationship takes throughout the movie is also very fascinating. It's a fascinating story, and I think it's important that people see this movie, honestly. And yeah, strong performances. The messaging is a little bit on the nose, kind of spoon feeds you some things, but overall, it's effective, and it was a solid, thrilling movie. Very entertaining and disturbing and fascinating. number 15 is a movie called Didi, which I saw in August with my sister. I took her to the movie with me, and this was a really cool one. This is a coming of age story about a kid who's about to go into high school. He just finished middle school, and it's the last summer between middle school and before high school starts. And it's just a coming of age story. He's a Taiwanese boy living in, I think it's Fremont or something like that in California. And this movie was really touching emotionally, and it hits a nostalgia factor for millennials. It's like perfectly targeted towards people me and my sister's age. I'm currently 30 and she's 33, and in the movie is in the mid 2000s and he's about to enter high school. And that's exactly, I started high school in 2008. So the movie has a lot of AOL Instant Messenger, mini DV video camera, and music references, movie references, the cell phones, the old YouTube interface. All that stuff is very nostalgic, and it's weird that it is nostalgic, but it was really cool to see in a movie because it was like directly for me. And in the movie, he just kind of gets into a lot of trouble and a lot of antics, and there is some drama with his family. I wish that towards the end it hit me emotionally a little harder, a little more intense, but overall, this was a very enjoyable and interesting one. At number 14, I have Deadpool and Wolverine. This was directed by Shawn Levy, who also did Night at the Museum, Free Guy, and if you remember Big Fat Liar way back from 2002 with Frankie Muniz and Paul Giamatti. So Shawn Levy, director, and it stars Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and also Emma Corrin and Matthew McFadyen, I think is his name, and a bunch of cameos too. I'm not going to list all of them, but this one was super fun. Seeing this in the theater, the crowd was cheering on opening weekend. People were cheering and clapping and laughing their ass off, and it was a lot like being at Endgame or No Way Home again, and that was a really special theater experience. And the movie is kind of a buddy comedy where Wolverine and Deadpool have to team up to do what they got to do to save, people. And it was they make a very good pair because their relationship has a lot of tension. Like Wolverine kind of has to put up with Deadpool and how crazy and annoying Deadpool is, and it gives their relationship these obstacles that they have to overcome. And also, the movie does good things for their character arcs, especially Wolverine. It they're both kind of dying to have a purpose, and it does something really cool with that. So I enjoyed this one quite a lot. At number 13, we have Lisa Frankenstein, which was by the director Zelda Williams. The main two stars are Catherine Newton and Cole Sprouse, who gives a mostly like 99% silent performance. And this movie, I heard it described at one point as like a love letter to the goth, I can't say that, goth plural, weirdos, freaks, emo kids, outcasts. And it really is. It celebrates weirdness and weird, nerdy, outcast people. And it just really is a celebration of being your authentic self, finding your authentic self. And it's super campy, silly, over the top, weird, yeah, like campy 1980s style. And it was just such a blast. I have not seen, this was probably the funniest movie I saw in 2024. It's super funny, super silly, so much fun. and just a celebration of what it is to be weird and find out who you are, especially in high school. And it has a unique way of doing that with the way the story is set up without spoiling it, but with the things they have to do in the story and what that could mean, like metaphorically. But yeah, very, very entertaining movie. This one was so much fun. I don't know if you noticed this, but the first two movies I talked about, Cuckoo and what was that one? Speak No Evil. I spent a little longer, like almost 3 minutes on those, and then I realized I can't do 3 or 4 minutes on each one because the video would be super long and I don't want to do that. So that's why I've been going a little quicker with the rest of them. But, anyways, with that being said, the number 12 movie is A Real Pain, which was directed by Jesse Eisenberg. Yes, the same Jesse Eisenberg who starred in The Social Network and other movies like Zombieland and the sequel to that. And it stars Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin and some other actors like Will Sharp. But mostly Eisenberg and Culkin are the main two. And they are on this tour of like Holocaust remembrance, and I believe it's in Poland, and they are Jewish and they're cousins. So there's like family drama and family relationships and what that means, and also the kind of the pain of family, I guess. It's called A Real Pain, and obviously the Holocaust is painful, but also relationships can be painful. And these two characters are very different in their personalities, and they kind of see in each other what they lack in themselves. They see in the other person, and they challenge each other. And it is a really fascinating character study. You learn a lot about the characters and you relate to the characters. Even that's even more important than the plot of the movie, I think. So this was kind of like a comedy, but it's really deep, really good. In the number 11 spot, we have Anora. This was directed by Sean Baker and stars Mikey Madison in the main role. The other actors, a lot of them are Russian, and I don't think I can pronounce their names. I'll probably butcher it, but there's a lot of the supporting cast is really good too. But Mikey Madison has a really standout performance, and this movie kind of delves into what love really is and the American dream, also class struggles and the working class versus rich people. And I believe Mikey Madison plays like a stripper, or yeah, she's a stripper in the beginning, and she meets this guy who's like kind of her knight in shining armor. He's this rich son of these Russian oligarchs, and he kind of has her become like his American escort for a whole week, and then they get married, and then there's some conflict with his family, and that's when the movie really kicks into gear. And I did feel the runtime with this in the second half a little bit, but I feel like it really has something to say about all those themes that I mentioned, and the ending is particularly impactful. Very good ending, very good performances. This one will probably be nominated for Best Picture. We'll find out soon. So yeah, Anora, very, very good. At number 10, we have I Saw the TV Glow. This is another A24 movie by Jane Schoenburn. It stars Justice Smith, Bridget Lundy Payne, Helena Howard, and Ian Foreman. But Justice Smith and Bridget Lundy Payne are like the main two. And this is definitely an allegory for the transgender experience. And with that alone, you might think that this movie would not appeal to me that much as a straight white male. But I find it's relatable even if you're not trans. I mean, obviously, if you are trans, that speaks directly to you. But the movie is essentially about learning to live your true, authentic self and recognize your authentic self and not like live a lie and live in an untruth or dissatisfied life and experience. That's kind of oversimplifying it, but in that sense, I can relate to that. So it does kind of transcend the trans allegory, but very powerful movie. I'm just realizing now, like living your authentic self, like this movie that kind of connects to Lisa Frankenstein, but they go about it in completely different ways because this is a pretty dark kind of horror movie and it's intense, but really good, really memorable. It will stick with me for a long time. In number 9, we have Alien Romulus. This was one of my most anticipated of 2024, and it absolutely delivered. It was directed by Fede Alvarez, who's a really awesome director, and stars Kaylee Spaney, David Johnson, Isabella Merced. I'm kind of forgetting the rest of the cast right now, but David Johnson and Kaylee Spaney are really the main two. But this movie was freaking awesome. I loved it. It is now my number 3 in the Alien franchise. So it goes Alien, Aliens, Alien Romulus, and then the rest of them, including the AVP movies. And I've seen the whole franchise. I've seen every movie at least 2 times. I saw this, I think, 2 or 3 times. I've seen Aliens 3 times. I've seen Alien 4 times. I love this franchise. And Fede Alvarez, the director, after doing the Evil Dead remake in 2013, whenever that was, Lights Out, he is a director who knows how to craft really good horror. Effective, scary, atmospheric. And this movie was like a mix of the horror and pure dread of Alien and also the action of Aliens. And it really delivered. It was amazing. The cinematography is good. The story was good. I loved it. I mean, as an Alien fan, this is like everything I wanted. I thought it was so great. So that was a really awesome one. Okay, so number 8 is Furiosa. I believe this is the 5th installment in the Mad Max franchise. It's by director George Miller, of course, and it is a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. And I think I gave this 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth in the main roles. I'm forgetting the other actors' names now, but those are the main two. And yeah, this was a great addition to the franchise, a very satisfying revenge story. Anya Taylor-Joy's character does not have a lot of dialogue, just like Mad Max in Fury Road and I guess the other ones, but she makes use of her screen time and her presence is felt. Her revenge, she is so driven and so motivated, and you feel her pain and her drive, and there's some really amazing action. The scene with the war rig in the middle is like an action masterclass. I mean, some people say there's more noticeable CGI. That's true compared to Fury Road, but overall, amazing movie. I really enjoyed it. Chris Hemsworth is truly demented. His character is called Dementus. He reminds me of Heath Ledger's Joker at times, but he was incredible. So, very good movie. At number 7, we have The First Omen. I think this came out around April ish of, I want to say, of 2024, so kind of earlier in the year, but I saw it twice in theaters and it was incredible. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars, one of my favorite horror movies of the year. It really left an impact on me. It was directed by Arkasha Stevenson, and the main character is Nell Tiger Free. Some of the other actors are Bill Nighy, Ralph Ineson, and Sonia Braga. And I like this more than the original Omen. I saw the Omen for the first time in October when I did my month of horror movies for spooky season, and I gave it 4 stars. I was like, this is good, but it's not like the most incredible thing I've ever seen. I like this more than the Omen, I really do. And I haven't seen the rest of the franchise, but the feeling of madness that connects Neil Tiger Free and the girl, and how that plays into the plot, and this feeling of things getting crazier and sicker and more twisted. I mean, the lore is really good, like the things they discover and how messed up it gets. And the horror is very well done, really intense, some intense, scary, creepy stuff. And I just enjoyed the hell out of this. An amazing central performance from Nell Tiger Free as well. So, really good one. Okay, so we're getting to the top of the list here. Number 6 is The Brutalist. This is a 2024 movie. I believe it came out December 2024, December 20th, 2024, or something like that. And then, but it didn't get a wide release, it seems like, until January. So I saw this in January 2025. I saw this a couple days ago. It's the most recent movie I saw, and it was freaking incredible. A 3.5 hour epic with a 15-minute intermission that I really appreciated. This was directed by Brady Corbett. It stars Adrian Brody, Guy Pearce, Felicity Jones, and Joe Alwyn, among others. And my God, what an incredible movie. The visuals are outstanding. The score is incredibly beautiful. I've been listening to the soundtrack, the score today and yesterday on my Tidal Music. And this movie is it's about the immigrant experience, but I don't think it's just about rags to riches. Maybe a little bit of that, but it's also about, like, if you are ever truly accepted by the majority when you're like a minority in the society, and what that means to gain their acceptance. Does that ever happen? And also about being an artist and trying to get your vision across when you have to be at the whims of the people who finance you. This was just, I loved this movie. I don't know what to say. I was floored by it. Okay, so my voice is getting tired now. I've been filming for a while, but we're at number 5 now, which is Conclave. This was directed by Edward Berger. It has a pretty stacked cast, with the main role by Ralph Fiennes. You also have Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, Isabella Rossellini, Lucian Masmati, and this was pretty damn incredible. Really tense thriller, political thriller. It's about the papacy. They're electing a new pope, and that process, and how the politics gets corrupted, and it's easily corrupted. Like, it's such a political process. It's also about morality and faith, and finding your faith, holding on to your faith, and the struggle between progressivism and conservatism, and just like a whole like charade of corruption and scandals, and like it just gets more intense as it goes on. Like, really, really just a great thriller, dialogue driven, and I just enjoyed it. It's also got some beautiful money shots. So this one, Conclave, Brutalist, and Anora, I know at least those three from my top 20 will get nominated for Best Picture. So we'll see, those nominations come out soon, but this was fantastic. In the number 4 spot, a film that I've remained excited about throughout the whole year. I saw it early last year in 2024. I saw it 2 times in the theater. This is Love Lies Bleeding. Love Lies Bleeding. And that's by the director Rose Glass, a female director. Her first movie, Saint Maud, I also checked out last year. That one was really good as well. So I'm liking her work so far. I also checked out one of her short films. She has a couple short films as well. And it stars Kristen Stewart, Katie O'Brien, Ed Harris, Jenna Malone, and Dave Franco. And Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien are amazing. Ed Harris is amazing. I've always loved Ed Harris, even since I was a little kid before I knew about movies. Somehow I knew about like Ed Harris. But this is like a messed up love story and thriller, and it's violent. They get kind of caught up in a cycle of violence, and it kind of asks the question about if love is violent and destructive, or if it helps us to become better people. And they kind of have this obsession and attachment to each other, Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien. And Kristen Stewart has all this messed up family stuff with Ed O'Brien, who is her dad. Sorry, Ed Harris, who is her father in the movie, and really intense, violent images too, but also some surrealist stuff, and it's a lesbian romance, I should say, and I loved it. This one remained strong throughout the whole year. I love it. Okay, so we're in the top 3 now. Number 3 is Nosferatu by Robert Eggers. He's the director. He's an amazing director. I love all his other films. I think The Witch is perfect. The Lighthouse is like damn near perfect. The Northman is really good. I loved his films. I was looking forward to this movie all freaking year, and I saw it on December 26th. I took my dad. He's not a big horror fan, but I knew he would like Eggers' directing because I did show him The Lighthouse way back when. And this movie absolutely delivered everything I love. The cast, by the way, you have Lily Rose Depp as the main character, Ellen, Nicholas Hoult as her husband, Thomas. Then you have Aaron Taylor Johnson, Emma Corrin, Willem Dafoe, and Ralph Ineson, among others. And goddamn, I just was so blown away. The visuals, it envelops you completely in this atmosphere of dread, and the blues of the nighttime scenes, they filmed that a specific way, and God, it just looks stunning. I mean, it's incredible. And the character of Ellen, I saw this movie 3 times, and when I saw it the second time, I counted up all the scenes that add depth and meaning and to her character and her struggle with this repressed sexuality and what it means to be a woman in that time period, and how this messed up part of her is repressed, and it does a really good job with her character. I just love this movie. Okay, in second place, my second favorite movie of the 55 movies I saw in 2024 is Dune Part 2, directed by the amazing Denis Villeneuve, and it stars Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, Austin Butler, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, uh, Josh Brolin, Christopher Walken. It's a very star-studded cast. Leia Seydoux, or however you say her last name, but yeah, very star-studded cast. Amazing film. I feel like everyone is firing on all cylinders. Denis Villeneuve is at his A game. Cinematographer Greg Fraser at his A game. And Hans Zimmer, the score, at his A game. Everyone is at the top of their game, and they deliver a movie that is epic in scale, in the story, the stakes, the themes of the Messiah and the dangers of that. The love story is epic, and all the stuff that happens between Timothy and Zendaya and the twists and turns that takes. The whole movie is just insanely entertaining and powerful and moving and deep. And also, I should say, I saw this one, I was in grad school at the time, and I saw it with 5 of my classmates on March 2nd. It came out March 1st on my 30th birthday, and we saw it Saturday, March 2nd. So that was a really memorable theater experience, going with all my friends from school. And I think I saw it 2 more times after that. I made sure to see it in IMAX. This was just a blast. I love everything about it. All right, we have made it to the end here. I'm now going to talk about my number 1, which was The Substance by Coralie Fargo. I'm not sure how to say her last name. Fargeat. Coralie Fargo, I think. And this was, frankly, the best movie I saw in 2024. It's the most original. It's insanely good. It is so freaking good. I saw it 2 times. It is very intense body horror, so you have to be aware of that. There's some really disgusting, nasty, intense stuff. It's not for everyone, I would say, because of that. But beyond being an incredible original horror movie, it also has really amazing things to say and really incredible messages about beauty standards that are so impossible to live up to for women, and how Hollywood just wants everyone to be young and beautiful. And when you get older as a woman, it's like you're not even valued anymore by society, and especially by Hollywood. And the movie stars, by the way, Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and the other guy is Dennis Quaid. And there's some other actors, but those are probably the main 3, with Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley being the most important too, with the most screen time. And God, this movie just absolutely blew me away. I mean, I am such a fan of horror, and when you can have a horror movie with that really has just it's got something to say, and again, it's just like Dune. Everyone is on their A game. The director, the production design, the sound design, the cinematography, the acting. Everything is as perfect as it can be, and it just creates a movie experience that was unlike anything I had this whole year, and I loved every second of it. I saw it 2 times. I definitely want to buy it on Blu-ray when that comes out, and that movie, I'm going to remember this movie for a long, long time. I love the hell out of it. So thank you for sticking around till the end here. This kind of got to be a pretty long video where I had 20 movies to talk about, but hopefully that was enjoyable for you. If you're a moviegoer or a cinephile, let me know your top 10, 15, 20, top whatever of 2024 in the comments. I'd like to hear it. Or any thoughts about mine, let me know. And this was so much fun to talk with you guys about. I love talking movies, talking cinema here on the channel. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sticking around to the end. It's been really fun to talk about this. Thank you. See you next time.